The green drake is one of the most anticipated mayfly hatches here in the eastern United States. Unfortunately, unless you time it right, the hatch can be very short-lived and you can miss it completely. However, the green drake nymph can still be effective for a longer period of time. To tie the green drake nymph, I'm going to use a Model 5 hook from Wholesale Fly Company. You might recognize this hook. This is the same one as used for stimulators, and it also works great for any type of long-bodied fly, long-bodied nymph such as the green drake. Since I don't tie this with a bead, I'm going to add several wraps of lead wire to the hook shank just to give a little bit of extra weight. I don't like this to be real flashy. This is a size 10, so it's, one of the bigger nymphs in my box. Alright, now we're going to start with attaching some light brown thread. I'm going to attach that right behind the lead wire. I'll make several wraps over top of the wire just to kind of secure that and lock it in place. Take our thread back to the bend of the hook. For the tail, we're going to use olive dyed pheasant tail. It's going to tear off about 4, 5, 6 fibers. I'm going to tie that in about 1 hook gap in length. Eastern green drakes don't have real long tails. And I'm going to lay that right over top of those lead wraps, just to make our underbody a little smoother and add a little bulk. It's less dubbing we have to use. Next, I'm going to add a mono rib. For the body, I'm going to use a blend of cream rabbit dubbing and green damsel. And I'm going to use about 2 parts cream to 1 part of the green damsel. And sometimes, people will mix their dubbings in like an old coffee bean grinder, but I prefer to do it by hand. The reason is that I think you get a little bit more color swirls in it. It's not a real fine blended together dubbing. I like to have those little color swirls in there. I think it just adds an extra dimension of liveliness. I'm going to wrap our mono rib, and I'm going to leave about a quarter of an inch of gap between each wrap there, just to provide a nice little segmentation for our nymph. For the wing case and legs, we're going to use olive dyed pheasant tail again. And this time I'm going to rip off just a few more fibers, maybe a dozen or so fibers, and I'm going to align the tips with the front of the eye of the hook. And that's going to be kind of my marking point for how long I want the legs. So I want the tips of the legs to come back to about there. So right in front of my fingers there is going to be my tie-in point at the front of the hook. Green drakes have long, clingy legs for climbing over rocks and burrowing. So, you can't go wrong, I think, with a little longer leg on these. Okay, once we have that secured, we're not going to cut that yet. For the thorax, I use Flash Nymph. This is a dark sable brown, and you'll see it has some nice little flecks of flash in there. It's not overpowering, it's subtle, and just gives that fly a little bit of extra sparkle. I think that helps trigger strikes. I'm going to dub some of that on the little tapered thorax. Okay, next we're going to pull up our legs, kind of bend those back. As we do, we're going to separate them a little bit, half on each side. And then we're going to pull our wing case over and tie that in. Really lock that down good. Now, green drakes are burrowers, and they do have little gills on their bodies. So if you want to, kind of liven us up a little bit, you can rub your finger over that abdomen, and that'll just, tease out some of those fibers and just give it a little bit more life when it's in the water. And believe it or not, this green drake can be a pretty effective steelhead pattern. I have several customers who ask me to tie up this same pattern except with a purely cream body, and they say it works great for Great Lakes steelhead. And this is the Eastern Green Drake Nymph. I tie these up in size 10 and they work. Catch you next time.